Today, on Human Rights Day, we call on President Biden to do the right thing, to use his clemency authority to commute the death sentences of the 40 individuals on death row, to resentence them to a prison term, and to save lives. State-sanctioned murder is not justice. And the death penalty is a cruel, racist, and fundamentally flawed punishment that has no place in our society. It is deeply discriminatory and has disproportionately been weaponized against Black, brown, and low-income families for far too long. It is long past time for President Biden to make good on his campaign promise to address the federal death penalty. With 40 days left in his presidency, we must move with urgency and ensure that history never repeats itself.
I don't know if these people are looking for more attention or just spewing idiocy. So as you saw in that video, guys, they're asking for 40, if I'm not mistaken, Black and Spanish men's death sentence to be commuted. Now, of course, if it gets commuted, that means they don't get the death penalty. They'll most likely do life in prison unless they look at the entire case again, and then it could be a lower sentence. But that's not the point. The point is that they're calling it racist. Now, as it stands, as of January 2024, the amount of Black people in jail versus white people are almost even. If I'm not mistaken, I think there's a little more, I think there's like 20 more white guys in jail over Blacks. Still, not the point. The point is to call it racist. The point to say that it's disparaging to the Black community is suggesting that there are more Black men on death row than there are white. And that is not the case. For the amount of white guys on death row right now, as of January 2024, is 941. Black men, 920. So almost even. Spanish men are 315 of them on death row, and Asians is only 42. Now, again, I'm not sure if it's Indians and fucking the Chineses and the Japaneses. I'm not sure what it is. Nonetheless, Asians are a way lower number. And Native Americans rounded down to 23. So again, to call it racist and say that it's disparaging to the Black community when there are more white folks on death row. Now, again, a lot of those guys on death row are probably low income, as they stated in the beginning. But again, to call it racist is mind-boggling. Like, I don't understand the talk about it being racist. Like, you can't make everything racist, right? You can't make math racist. They try to say peanut butter and jelly was racist because only white people eat peanut butter and jelly. Don't want to talk about it because it's only going to piss me off. But to make everything racist, now you're making the death penalty racist. They were calling for certain movies to be racist, or rather that they were racist, excuse me, like Lord of the Rings, because there weren't any Black actors in them. Oh, it's racist. I'm like, well, listen, Bilbo and the rest of them were white. And that's what it was, and that's how the author wrote it. To now do the Lord of the Rings and add Black characters to it, to me, it's a slap in the face to the author. Now, a lot of states still have the death penalty. If I'm not mistaken, there's 27 states that still have the death penalty. A lot of those states don't even follow through with the death penalty. They have these people on there, and they're on there for years. There are certain states like Texas that I keep hearing, they actually have guys sitting in a chair, lethal injections or whatever it is. And various states still have, those 27 states, they still have certain executions on the book, like the electric chair, which is still a real thing, lethal injection. One state, if I'm not mistaken, still has hanging on the books, though they don't go that route. And there was another state, I can't remember which one, that allowed the person to pick their execution. And there was a man, this is probably 20, 25 years ago, who was given a choice of how he wanted to go out. And he chose stoning. Because if I'm not mistaken, in that state, back in the days, like the 1800s or whatever it was, that's what it was. Stoning was legal. And it was still in the books. And because stoning is inhumane, they couldn't execute him. So his death sentence was commuted, and he did life in prison. I thought that was pretty smart. Nonetheless, there are different death penalties in the country, and a lot of states don't follow through. And if it's a heinous act, normally it's followed through. But again, the racist thing doesn't fucking track. It doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. if you have more white folks on death row. Now, if you had more blacks, you could possibly use the argument. But even then, it still doesn't make any sense to call it racist just so that you can A, either hear yourself speak, or B, cause some shit that doesn't need to be caused. Because all of those guys on death row and or in jail, most of them, not all of them, but most of them probably deserve it. And I say most and not all because there have been cases where people have gone to jail and were wrongly accused. How many people in the last 10 years who are wrongly accused are now getting out because of new evidence and DNA? So imagine how many people sat in that chair or lethal injection and died innocent. So that's why I said all. I said some, not all, because some of these guys, maybe one or two of them, might be innocent because of lack of evidence or somebody lying or some shit like that. Still, not the point. The point is, guys, is that the rhetoric of making everything racist is not going to work, and it's actually falling upon deaf ears now because people don't want to hear the shit. People do not want to hear that everything's racist. That's like saying that because you're black, you're going to automatically get the death sentence. That makes no sense. So the liberals, they just keep getting more liberal. And I don't understand. I am almost amazed at how liberal liberals can get. They are trying to liberal each other out with the stupidity that's coming out of their mouths. It's insanity. But to sit there and say it's racist, when in fact, it's the way of the world. And do I agree with death penalty? Absolutely. But I would raise the stakes. I would say if you killed a family member or a child, you have to let the parents pull that trigger. Because then and only then will it be legit. Not having the state do it is a little bullshit because the guy pushing a button, whatever it is disconnected from the situation. But having the parents do it, push the button at the very least. Pushing the button, a lot of parents will not follow through with it because they know what it's going to be to take another life. And in that way, that if the parent doesn't push the button, that person goes, not they don't go free, but then they do life in prison. Again, that's my idea. It has nothing to do with being racist. But again, the whole racist thing is just stupid and it's getting old. Everything cannot be racist. It just can't. Anyway, guys, this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching the Angry Prepper channel. Angry Truth. You're watching the Angry Truth channel.